So I've got to that point in the build now where I need to do my pre-MOT checks, ready to get this thing back on the road legally. For those that don't live in the UK, it's a legal requirement for any vehicle to have a current MOT test, which is an annual test. Basically it just checks a vehicle over for roadworthiness. Normally applies to, for the 12 months, these cars, motorcycles, vans, trucks I believe is 6 months, etc. Any vehicle that's over 3 years old requires one, so new cars you don't have to have one, and then as soon as they hit 40 years old you don't have to have an MOT test again, because it's believed that they're the older historic vehicles that people look after. They hardly do any mileage on the road and therefore kept more roadworthy by people. What you can do is go on the internet to the DVLA MOT checker and you can check the history of your vehicle's MOT, especially if you've a new vehicle and it's the first time putting it through. It's worthwhile to see if it's had any advisories in the past. And all you do, you just go and check, as I'm doing here. You go through, stick the registration number in, and you can see what it's been picked up on. Now this one, it was picked up for binding brakes a few years ago. We've fixed all of that, so I think we should be okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to follow the DVLA check sheet, which is that one there. That was done in 2013, and since then the gradings of an MOT test have changed a little bit, but nothing serious. If you stick to this sheet, you can't go far wrong, because the basic MOT test hasn't changed. It's just things are worded slightly differently. Right, first thing I do before an MOT is make sure my lights are clean, the plates are clean, the reflectors are clean, because you can actually fail a test on that. Right, so sat on the machine, the first thing they'll have a look at is the handlebars. Are they fitted? Are they there? Are all the controls there? Are the controls working properly? Do the brakes feel spongy? The clutch okay? Throttle, does it twist back like that?
1 minute later.
Right, rudely interrupted by an every delivery driver. Does the throttle spring back? That's a little bit slow, but it does. Do all the lights and gauges work? So ignition on. Got some warning lights on there. Let's try the indicators. Do all the indicators work? Warning lights are on. Does the horn work? Yes, it does. High low beam doesn't work on this at the moment because our engine needs to be running, which I'm not going to do at the moment. Then you would check the head bearings. So steering side to side, does it feel notchy? Is it okay? All good there. Next bit is a bump test, basically checking the suspension. So with the front one, just put the front brake on and push down on the forks. It should recoil normally, there should be no bounce or spring in there. I'd say that's all right. And then the same with the back. Do you get decent spring back? Which we do. Happy with that, that's passed. So on the front of the bike, what we'll be looking at is the operation of all the lights, and the light fittings aren't actually damaged, so there's no dents or crack in there. And some actually look at the beam pattern set up on these if they've got the correct beam pattern. Make sure there's no damage to the indicators, they're all fitted and they're working. Yes, they do flash. We'd also check out the suspension. So have a look at the struts, see if we've got any leaks, which we haven't. They're in good condition. And check the front mudguard, it's fitted and secure. That isn't going anywhere. Happy days. So we'll get the front wheel jacked up. So with the front wheel up, we check the bearings. Bit of brake bar in there. Need to look at that. Check the steering's okay. See if we can wobble those headstock bearings around, which are fine. And the wheel bearings, which are quite difficult to do on this because the whole wheel moves, but it feels okay. Definitely need to look at that brake line there. That isn't great. So we need to look at the offside of the machine now. Make sure everything is in good condition. So check the state of the frame. All the fairings are fitted in place. A little bit loose, but it's not going to fly off. Operation of the rear brake pedal, springs back. Check for leaks around the hoses, etc. Check the exhaust system. There's no holes in it. There's no blowing. There's no gases escaping apart from the back end where it's supposed to come through. And also they would check if there's any manufacturer's numbers on there for BS compliance, noise regulations and everything. A lot of bikes on noise emissions will fail before they even get their test centre because we hear them coming down the road. There's normally it's the MOT tester discretion done with the engine ticking over, which we'll go through in a little bit. All the foot pegs are in place, solid, not loose. Yeah, and that'll spring back nicely. So left hand side looking good. If you had twin shock system as well, inspect the shock absorbers. And this one we've got to get in, and we need to check right in there. A little bit crusty. There's no signs of leaks or anything on it, and it does spring back normally, which is good. So on the rear of the bike, they'll be looking at the rear lights. Are they working? Has it got a reflector? Which it has. Is that number plate light working as well? Also, number plate, is it the legal size? Look at your rear tyre. Good tread depth on that. I know it is because it's a brand new tyre, so we should be okay there. Does it spin okay? Yes, it does. Also check the operation of the lights. I'll try and do this. Move on there. Is the back brake working? Will the front work? Can I reach it? But also check the operation of the indicators. And we've got 4 ways on this as well, so we know they all work. And your left, and your right. Make sure it does cancel. Right, so then we check down on their side of the machine, exactly the same as the other side. Just check the foot pegs, make sure they're all in position nicely and secure, not going to fall off. Gear selector works. You know, again, condition of the exhaust system. If you had a twin shock, you check the shock absorber. Make sure the chain's not ripping anything to pieces. Make sure the frame's in good condition. Again, make sure all the fairings and panels are fitted correctly and not going to fly off. I think we're looking good there. So with the back wheel off the ground, what we need to do is make sure the wheel spins freely, apply the brake, which works, and then it releases again. Happy days. Wiggle the swing arm bearings. Check your wheel bearings. They seem to be all right. Everything is good there. Right, we need to look at the rear wheel alignment. That is basically ensuring that the back wheel is in square and true to the machine, because they are adjustable on either side. Now there's numerous ways of doing this. What a lot of test places do, they may run a straight edge down the back wheel, the full length of it, and line it up with the front wheel. A way you can do it at home is if your chain alignment is correct and all your spaces and everything are as a manufacturer intended and put in, then your wheel's going to be straight. That's how you would do it. There's loads of videos out on the internet, so I'm not even going to bother.
Do you speak any English?
I speak English. I'm not going to cover that today. Right, so the brake test. I don't have a rolling road here, so I can't do a brake test on it. Basic checks I did earlier, you can see the front brake's binding a little bit, back brake's fine. When you go out for a ride, when you're riding down the road and you apply the brakes, front or rear, feel for if there's any vibration that's quite relative to the speed. So if you're going slow, you'll get a slow vibration. When you've got the brake on, if you're going quick, the vibration gets a bit quicker. That could be the sign of a warped disc or damage to your discs as well. When you've been riding for a while, stop and feel the calipers with the back of your hand. If they're getting hot, I mean really hot, hotter than normal, it could be a sign of a binding brake. So that's another thing you need to look at. So you can do those as riding checks. You feel that as you're riding down the road on a daily basis anyway, so you'd know something's wrong. So that's how we can do the brake test without having a rolling road. Headlight adjustment will be done with a machine with the rider sat on it, off its centre stand, and making sure it's not going to be dazzling everybody. Most testers will let it pass if it's not pointing in the sky. As long as you're not going to dazzle somebody you can see down the road, then most will be happy. Some will get the machine out, they'll line it up. If you read your user manual, it'll tell you how to set up your front headlight for your machine. Basically, I can't do it because it's daylight at the minute. You'd line it up on a flat surface against a wall or a garage door or anything like that, and you'd have a line marked on the same height as the centre of your headlight. I'll post a picture up, and all you do, adjust it so it's below that line by a set distance. Right, so the bike's warmed up. Tell by the noise level, speaking normal volume, you can hold a conversation. Yeah, I'd say that's passed. It's not overly loud. Checking around the exhaust system, make sure there's no leaks or blowing. Take off that. What you're looking for, you'll hear it ticking on manifolds. Which it isn't. Right, see a nicer siren around the whole exhaust system, so that's good. So last thing on the list, sidecar. Haven't got one. That's that done. So there we are then, that's my MOT checks done. I've got a binding brake, I need to sort that out. So I was hoping to avoid it, but it looks like I might just strip down the calipers, replace the ports, the seals and everything, and see if that should sort it out, hopefully. Hope this has helped. Thanks for watching.